I woke up at 7 to the sound of my alarm, like every other day. I turned it off and stayed where I was, staring at the ceiling, listening to the flat before moving. After a moment, I got out of bed. I showered, got dressed, and put my shoes on. While the kettle was boiling, I checked my phone, scrolling through emails I already knew I wouldn't answer until I got to work. I left the flat a little after 8. I locked the door behind me and took the stairs instead of the lift, the way I usually do. The walk to the office felt normal. I took the same streets I always take and crossed at the same lights. I stopped for coffee, paid, and took the lid off as I stepped back outside. I remember thinking it tasted a little more bitter than usual, but I didn't think much about it at the time. At work, the day passed the way most days do. There were meetings that went longer than they needed to, and emails that didn't lead anywhere. I ate lunch at my desk and kept my phone face down beside the keyboard while I worked. When I finally left in the evening, I remember noticing the time and thinking I'd stayed later than I planned. I got home just after 6. When I opened the door, the hallway light was on. I stopped just inside the doorway and looked at it for a moment. I didn't remember turning it on that morning, and I don't usually leave it on during the day. I stood there, trying to decide if that meant anything, or if I'd just forgotten doing it. I assumed I'd turned it on without thinking. I switched the light off and went inside. The flat looked the same as it always does. My shoes were where I'd left them. My bag was on the chair. I went into the kitchen, made something to eat, watched television for a while, and then went to bed. I locked the door out of habit. At some point during the night, I woke up. At first, I didn't know why. I was just suddenly awake, staring up at the ceiling. The room felt a little brighter than it should have been. When I looked over, I saw that the bedroom door was open. I keep it closed when I sleep. I lay there for a long time before getting up. When I finally did, I walked over and closed the door again. I stood there with my hand on the handle, trying to remember if I ever leave it open like that. I couldn't remember doing it. The next morning, I went through my routine again. I showered, got dressed, and put my shoes on. My phone was on the bedside table where I'd left it. When I checked the alarm history, it showed the alarm had been dismissed at 6:12. I wake up at 7. I stood there looking at the screen longer than I needed to, then put the phone in my pocket and left for work anyway. Nothing unusual happened at the office that day, but sometime in the afternoon, while I was reading an email, my phone vibrated in my pocket. There was a message from a number I didn't recognize. "You were awake before you should have been." I didn't reply. About a minute later, another message came through. "You slept with your bedroom door open. You shouldn't do that." I locked my phone and slid it into my desk drawer. I remember my hands feeling warm when I did it. When I got home that evening, the hallway light was off. The bedroom door was closed. I stood in the doorway for a moment before going inside, listening. That night, I didn't sleep well. I kept waking up, checking the time, checking the door, and listening for sounds I couldn't place. The following day, I tried to be more careful. I made sure to turn lights off deliberately. I closed doors deliberately. Before going to bed, I checked my alarm, then checked it again. When I woke up, it was exactly 7, but my pillow had been turned around. The tag, which I always keep at the bottom, was close to my face. I sat up in bed and looked at it for a long time. That afternoon, another message came through. "You turned over at 2:17. I didn't reply. When I got home that evening, something felt wrong with the lock. It wasn't broken, and it wasn't damaged. It just didn't feel the way it normally does. The resistance wasn't where I expected it to be. I stood there turning the key back and forth until it finally worked. Inside, the flat looked normal. On the kitchen table was my spare key. I don't carry it with me. I keep it in a drawer. I stood there holding it, trying to remember taking it out. I didn't put it back. That night, I locked the bedroom door. I went to sleep as I usually do, and woke in complete darkness. My mouth was dry, my ears were ringing, though I didn't understand why, and I had the feeling that someone had been in my room, watching me. When I sat up, there was nothing there. In the morning, there was another message on my phone. It doesn't matter anymore. It's already too late. Weeks passed. Things didn't go back to normal. I stopped sleeping through the night. I stopped trusting where things were when I left them. I stopped locking doors, then started again, then stopped. It didn't seem to make a difference anymore. Nothing else has happened. There have been no more messages. That doesn't mean anything. I still wake up during the night. Sometimes it's because I hear something. Sometimes it's because I don't. I lie there listening, trying to work out whether the flat sounds the way it always did, or whether I've just forgotten what that sounds like. Sometimes I get out of bed and check the rooms one by one. I never find anything. I don't turn the lights on straight away anymore. I let my eyes adjust first. I look at the shape of the door, the edge of the wardrobe, the space beside the bed. Most nights, everything looks the way I remember it, the way it should. I don't know if that's because nothing is there, or because I'm not meant to notice it anymore. I just know I keep my eyes open longer than I need to.